What's up, YouTubers? It's me, Johnny. Tonight I'm making a video on basically how to live cheap if you have to or if you want to. Basically kind of the rock bottom living, or how little you'll need to live in Latin America super cheap. And I came across this guy's channel, Jack Pitmanika, and it's very fascinating. He has some really interesting videos, and I just want to share a few of the titles. One is kind of interesting. Anyways, here I want to comment on one of them. He has a channel that talks about a lot of things. He has this course on how to live in Nicaragua. And he talks about relationships and romance with Nicaraguan girls or women. And then vaccines, stuff like that, which isn't as interesting for me. But anyways, he has one video on how cheap it is for him to live in the capital of Nicaragua. What's fascinating was I watched his video, and he makes a claim that's kind of amazing. You can live on less than $5 an hour working part-time and survive okay in Guatemala, or pardon me, in Nicaragua. And I was laughing because he pays, his rent is $325, which is not bad. He rents a house for $325 with his fiance, I think. And he made comments and stuff on how Americans tend to pay too much. Foreigners in general tend to pay too much for apartments and homes and things like that. But what caught my attention was his comment on, at least for him, he said, you only got to work part-time at a job that pays $4 or $5 an hour. So it's kind of interesting to hear that kind of a view on how to live in Central America. Anyways, he has quite a bit on his channel that's interesting. One thing that he has is he has a service where you can talk with him for $20. If you go to schedule a call, it's $20 for 30 minutes, if I remember right. The reason I'm bringing this all up is because people ask me how to make money. This is one of those things where you find out what service it is he's using, and then depending on your level of privacy, you either set it up in your own name before you start living your new life anywhere in the world or wherever it is, or you set it up in the name of like one of your nieces or nephew or one of your girlfriends or something like that if you desire more privacy. And usually these things pay out through PayPal, or they send it to a bank account. So you get all that infrastructure set up before you left, including if you have PayPal, there's a separate PayPal card you can get where you can withdraw your money from PayPal. And in addition to that, you would have another bank account set up and hooked up to PayPal and an ATM card to that specific bank. So you have a couple different cards in case something happens. The only trouble with some of these services, they use PayPal or your bank account. If they use PayPal, you could get the account frozen. But usually, if it's not like internet marketing type of a business or business like that, if it's just like a consulting type business, usually that kind of thing doesn't happen. But you never know. Anyways, I just put that out there for people who want to earn a living or who ask me about it. So you have what your specialty is. Like, I'm really good at learning how to live as cheaply as possible, more specifically Latin America and the Philippines. Like, I had apartments in the Philippines from $80 to $120, and I had apartments for like $350 with marble floors. I still remember that. After a while, I got used to like those big places with a swimming pool and marble floors, but after a while, you just get over. Well, I got over. I didn't really need to spend that kind of money on an apartment. Nowadays, that would cost you probably quite a bit more. But how to get cheap apartments is basically like Jack Pittman says: is you have to run around in the neighborhoods and look. It's not easy because when they see a foreigner, they'll want to raise the prices. Like, one thing you can do is you can have a local search for an apartment, and they'll find a nice apartment. Then you go with them to look at it. And then before you go, they'll say it's like $120, let's say. And then you get there, they say it's $300 when they see a foreigner. You have to be willing to put up with a lot of that and look for a lot of apartments till you find someone or a landlord who doesn't raise the prices like that. And if you're willing to put in 2 or 3 days or a week of looking around the neighborhoods you like, it's doable. But a lot of Americans don't like doing that. Or what they do is they'll go to a name brand real estate company that they associate with the United States or whatever country they're from, which will give you apartments or houses for like $800, $900, $1,000, $2,000. That's another way you'll end up paying a lot more than you really need to. But if you use a local and are willing to pay a local, they will know that's another way around it. They know all the neighborhoods, the safe neighborhoods, all the different price points. And again, you'll have to do a lot of walking or driving, and you'll get quite a few runarounds with people raising the prices more than what they said. Typically, they'll say, through text it's $150, and then you get there, they see it's a gringo, and then they'll come up with a lot of excuses why they can't give it to you for that price. They'll give it to you for $300 or $400. You have to be willing to walk away, else you'll never get the cheaper rents. If you're not willing to walk away, and a lot of Americans aren't, you end up paying a lot more than what you really need to pay. So either you put the footwork in yourself, or you hire someone to help you do it, or some kind of combination of that. If you go through there's a lot of Westerners who offer these services, but they will, again, tend to high price. They will know the market pretty well, but what they typically do is they'll find an apartment for $150. They'll rent it to you for $300 and take the difference, and they'll charge you a fee to show it to you. That's okay if you don't mind paying that, but that's typically how they'll do it. Locals will do the same thing. So you have to totally recognize these things happen, and are more frequent than you would like. So it takes a certain amount of expertise and time and effort to find these places. But once you do, you can find really nice places like this guy, Jack Pittman. He has a fairly nice house from the videos, I guess. 2 or 3 bedrooms, nice big house. And he spends, like he said in his video, peanuts on food. Like, it's actually pretty true. You can spend $15 or $20, maybe 30, just if you buy groceries in a local open air market. Now that's what I do. And like just today, I spent like $3 or $4 for food that'll last me a week. He talks about that in his videos. He's a vegan. I'm not a vegan or anything, but if you shop in the local open air markets and you don't buy too many westernized things that are imported, your cost of living will be really cheap. And I'm saying that despite all the inflation that's happened around the world. Your biggest costs will be like this guy right here. It'll be your rents usually. And the bigger the house, or the nicer the house, or the nicer the neighborhood, the more it'll be. But typically what happens to most gringos, they pay way too much because they're not experienced, or they don't understand the market, or they're not willing to put the effort in. The trouble with that is if you're not willing to put the effort in, then it's like living in Costa Rica, where it's really, really hard to find cheaper rents because so many foreigners there and they're willing to pay these high prices. So you really can't get them to come down. Anyways, real quickly, I'm going to show another channel. I've been talking about Vagabond Buddha for a long time. They have a different approach. They travel all over. He and his girlfriend travel all over the world, but they typically have a lot of videos on cost of living, like for like, I don't know, $800 or $900 to like $1,200 or $1,500. They also have quite a few videos on people they meet who live on $500 or $600 or $700 or $800 a month. So I'm just putting that out there if you want to see videos like that and ways you can do it. The thing about talking about, like, say, how to live on $600 a month in the Philippines is most people don't want to live at a rock bottom. And I wouldn't really suggest it unless you're building up a business, or you're building up an online business or something like that. Then I would suggest it. But usually most foreigners have more income than that. But it is true, you can live that cheap if you want to, especially if you're in the Philippines, you're living out in the province. Like I said, the trick to that is to have a girlfriend or a wife help guide you to find a really cheap place. Then the other thing is, if you don't do that, hire a local to help you find a place, which is not really hard either. There's a lot of real estate ladies in the Philippines who will help find you really, really affordable places if that's what you're looking for. So I just want to put that out there. I watch a lot of Vagabond Buddha's videos. His girlfriend has her own website too. You might want to check that out. And they also have, he has he has a website where he promotes a product on how to earn income online, which is the best I've ever seen. I think the last time I looked is $100. It's really one of them things where you could get away with charging $1,000. So I'm surprised he listed it at $100. But it's basically his course is how to create income from a hobby. His hobby in this case is how to travel the world or slow travel the world on a budget. But his course is how to do all these things and get income, not just from AdSense, but from other ways too. But basically how to have a website like you join for $10 a month, kind of like a Patreon, but it's not a Patreon, but kind of like that where you have other services or products behind a paywall. You just pay the $5 or $10 per month. I remember when he first started, it was at $4 a month. I think now he might be at 10 or 12. I can't remember anymore. I got the lifetime deal for $100, I think it was. So it's a really good value, and he has videos on how to live all over the world, what to expect to pay, the problems. Another thing I like about him is a lot of people give up living overseas because they can't handle the culture. He talks about stuff like that, why people end up leaving or going back to their old life. They just can't make the adjustment. Some of it's cultural, some of it's climate, like they can't take the heat or they don't like living on the beach. Some of it's they don't like living away from Western type foods or their families, a lot of things like that. But if you can readjust to a different culture and you can live in these cultures, you really don't have to pay. Like he really talks about this, you really don't have to pay as much money as you'd really think. So if you can make $3,000 or $4,000 from your side business and you spend like $1,200 or $1,500 a month, you can save half your income and build up quite a savings and make some investments or buy a house or whatever it is you want to do. Like an $8 per day rent in Mexico, that's the kind of thing, like you can do. A lot of his videos are in the Philippines and Mexico. I think because of COVID, those were the places he happened to be during COVID. But he really concentrates a lot on Latin America and quite a bit on Asia. So that's what you're going to get if you go to his channel. That's Vagabond Buddha, just for the viewers. Anyways, that's it for now. I don't have much else to say. I just wanted to bring viewers' attention to if you want to live on a budget and you want to live really cheap and you want to know some channels to go to, Jack Pittman has a good one. Now he talks about mainly just Nicaragua, but everything he says would apply to El Salvador or Guatemala or because I was really surprised he paid $325. So he prefers to have a bigger house, I think. Then he lives, if I had to guess, a couple $100 on food, which is not really that hard. He has a fiance. If you have two people splitting those bills, it's really, I agree with him, it's really easy to live that cheap. And it's in, I think it's Managua, because he lives in the capital. I think that's the capital. I'm not sure I'd live there, but I don't know. I'd have to go and visit there and see what it's like. But because a lot of people like to skip Guatemala City or the big cities in Latin America, I tend to like visiting them and going to them for lots of different reasons. But anyways, because most people skip them, they don't really see the opportunities there. Right now, I'm in Xela right now, which is the second biggest city in Guatemala. Still pretty affordable, but the thing about it is it's very, very chilly because we're at like the 31st. We're going into February. It's still kind of cold. It's kind of warming up. Like I think right now it's like 50 or 60 degrees outside. So that might not be for most people. Anyways, that's it for now. Like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you.